This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome once again here from Johannesburg in South Africa. My name, of course, is Evan Jansen. The show is always live. It's broadcast from our studios here in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now, but the whole show is always available on demand at your leisure on our YouTube channel. Today we get a roundup from the schools around the coastal areas of South Africa as they start the school year. We also get an update on the worsening flood situation around southern African countries. And we'll also speak to Paul Manario about the reasons for these heavy downpours. Then we look at why we have a shortage of skills, especially artisans here in South Africa. And we close with our book slot, where we talk to a man who claims to have slept with 283 women in his new tell-all book. That should be a little bit interesting in this day and age. But first, the day's news with Katrina Milan.
Well, hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm Katrina Milan, and let's just take a look at the stories making headlines this morning. Schools in coastal provinces reopened today. Pupils in the Western Cape, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal are starting their academic year a week later than their inland counterparts. Teachers Union SASU has expressed its satisfaction with the state of readiness of the schools for this academic year. Kuruman schools affected by protests last year over a tarred road are expecting overcrowding, as many pupils will be repeating their grades. South Africa will use the 2015 World Economic Forum that gets underway in Davos, Switzerland today to assure investors that the country remains the best destination to invest in on the African continent. President Jacob Zuma is among the 40 heads of state attending. The forum will tackle global social economic issues. So South Africa is currently facing challenges such as a sluggish economic growth and the energy crisis and a high unemployment rate. Finance Minister Nene says government is seeking ways of addressing them all.
The biggest message we're bringing is that South Africa is open for business, and also that even though we have challenges like everybody else, South Africa is working hard, and we have a plan to address our challenges in the National Development Plan, and we're calling on countries to do business with South Africa.
Flooding in Malawi and Mozambique continues to challenge rescue and aid efforts, with teams saying their biggest challenge remains access to the hardest hit areas. This due to bad weather that has left roads inaccessible and washed away bridges. In Mozambique, at least 70 people have died and thousands more displaced during the floods, while in Malawi, floods have killed more than 200 people and left about 200,000 others homeless. Then also due to the heavy rains, voting in the Zambian presidential by-election will resume this morning at polling stations where election material could not be delivered due to bad weather. The country is voting for a replacement for late President Michael Sata, who died of an undisclosed illness in October. The Electoral Commission remains confident that counting will continue today as planned and that the outcome will be announced tomorrow. Scientists at the Stellenbosch University laboratories will start a new round of DNA testing to identify bodies of 11 South Africans who died during a building collapse in Lagos, Nigeria last year. 116 people, including 85 South Africans, died when a guest house belonging to televangelist TV Joshua collapsed on September the 12th last year. 74 bodies were repatriated to South Africa in November, 2 months after the disaster. And the South African cricket team will go all out for victory over the West Indies in today's third one-day international in East London. That's so they can rest key players for the remainder of the series. The Proteas lead the series 2-0, and a win will give the host an unassailable 3-0 lead in the five-match series. I'll remember all those top stories and more are all available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can then also keep up to date with all of our journalists all over the country on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, back to you.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Schools in the 4 coastal provinces will open their doors for the first term of the 2015 calendar year today. Teachers started on Monday already to ensure and prepare that when schools open, effective learning and teaching takes place on the first day. Schools in KwaZulu-Natal throughout the province are ready. The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has urged parents to ensure that their children are registered. Now, for the latest, we cross to Blaine Herman, who's in Paul Peterberg, northern parts of the province. He is with the speakers of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature Lydia Johnson. Good morning, Blaine. I understand you have an interview, but just set the scene for us quickly.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Eben. Live from Port Petersburg, northern KwaZulu-Natal. It's about 4 hours drive from Durban. And, KwaZulu-Natal, Eben, is indeed in sharp focus. You'll remember that this province, in terms of the matric pass rate, had one of the steepest declines in the country, about 7.7%. Back in 2013, it was 77%. It dropped to about 69%. So, indeed, a lot of work to be done. We had a bit of a chat with the MEC for Education earlier. And she said there is a strategy in place. It's called Strategy Bounce Back. So we'll be keeping tabs on the rest of the year and how things are going to flow. But indeed, government officials are fanned out across the province, trying to visit as many schools as they can, all to ensure that everything goes off without any hiccups and schools are ready. Now, leading the charge is the Speaker's office in KwaZulu-Natal. Lydia Johnson now joins me live. She is the Provincial Speaker in the Legislature. Thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for joining us. I know you're very busy. You've got a lot of schools to actually visit. But from the reports that you're getting, how's things going so far?
Thanks and good morning to all the viewers. As we say that as a legislature, we are in line with our mandate of oversight. At the beginning of every year, we send all our members throughout the province to visit the school with the aim of checking is everything in order, is learning taking place on the first day and teaching, are the learner support material available, and all that needed to be enhanced in schooling. So that's the first thing that we check. We also check that it's an environment conducive enough to start the learning in earnest and teaching in earnest. And I must say the province, we have seen that there is state of readiness. We're quite happy, and our main role is to monitor, particularly when the MEC say that they are coming out with the bounce back strategy, and we want to monitor that closely so that we ensure that we really turn around the corner. As it was earlier on, we said that we really saw decline, and we have been happy seeing a steady increase in our results.
Speaker, how concerned is the legislature, the province, with regards to KZN's matric pass rate? If you look at some of the stats, in this district, Zululand district, there was about 6 schools that had between 0 and 19% pass rate. Mzanyati, one of the worst, I think, in KwaZulu-Natal, it had about 21 schools in that category. How concerned are you, and are you confident that this bounce-back strategy will work?
We are indeed concerned. I must say we're taken by surprise. We're enjoying a steady improvement, but this one came as a surprise. But nevertheless, we can't lament on that. We need to pull together, as we say that education is a societal issue. The parents, the community, and everyone must support the Department of Education. But we are saying that we are confident that with the response from the Department of Education and us as members of the legislature putting effort to ensure that we monitor closely and regularly. But I must say that this is a partnership. And we believe that we will turn around the corner if all of us are working together.
Indeed, it is a societal issue, a partnership with parents. Lydia Johnson, thank you very much indeed for your time. I'll let you go off to your school tours, and best of luck to you. Lydia Johnson is the Provincial Legislature Speaker. Now, as we were saying, it's a societal issue. Education is very much that issue, and parents are often involved. Now, I look behind me and I see a few parents here. So let me just maybe try to grab one of the parents. I see you standing. Ma'am, could you come closer? Your name is?
Tutukile Matenja.
Tutukile, how old is your son?
It's a she, actually.
Okay.
She's 7 years old, going to grade 1 this year.
So you must be very nervous.
I'm very happy, actually. I'm excited because she's excited too to go to school.
Grade 1, what was the reaction this morning? How was the morning for you?
She was very happy. I was so excited. We woke up around 4 already because she was ready for school and she wanted to take it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you confident in this education system from whatever you heard in the province? You confident?
Yes, I am. I'm very confident, and also academically the school is doing very well, so I'm very happy to put my grade 1 student here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. And best of luck to you and your daughter.
Thank you.
There you go. You heard it from a parent. It's not only a big day for learners, Eben, it's a big day for parents as well. That's how we'll wrap things up, Eben.
Thanks very much, Blaine. That's an update from Blaine Herman in Port Petersburg. Some say he's my double at times. I've been spotted in Durban and called myself Blaine Herman once or twice. But lots of tears today, lots of tears, lots of parents crying, children crying, lots of nerves. In the Eastern Cape, well, the provincial government there launched a Back to School campaign with a handover of a school near East London last week. Various stakeholders will descend on the rural Pagamani Senior Secondary School in Debera village, 22 kilometres outside Ingobo, to reward the school for achieving outstanding results in the 2014 matric. We will also hear about a remarkable story at Lumelo Ngeni, who achieved good results while living with his grandmother and 3 other siblings on a 640 Rand child grant. Now, our reporter Zimkita Makingwane joins us from the school. She is with 2 guests. Very good morning to you, Zimkita. I understand that you've got a couple of guests there, but just paint us a picture.
Good morning and welcome to Pagamani Senior Secondary School, Eben. This is where we are. There's a lot of excitement as thousands of pupils go to school for the very first time for this year. And here at Pagamani, it's a little bit different because this school has achieved great marks in last year's matric exams. They received 83% pass rate. And within the school, there's a top achiever that's representing the school in the province. Lumelo Ngeni, who received 4 distinctions despite the difficult conditions of his home that we're studying under, and also the condition of the school itself. There's a shortage of teachers here, there's a shortage of classes, there's a little bit of overcrowding, but we're going to speak to him and find out how he did it. Good morning and welcome to Newsroom. Just tell us, Lumelo, how did you do it? 4 distinctions.
You know, I was working very hard. I used candles to study. I would wait for my grandmother to sleep, and then I would grab a candle and then study my books. I was really committed to my work.
And what are your wishes for those that are left behind here at Pagamani Senior Secondary School? I know there are no computer labs, there are no science labs, and it's a little bit difficult to study here. What are your hopes for them?
What I hope for them is that if they could be a computer lab, the science lab and library, there could be access to information, but I didn't have access to the same access to information. Information was limited, so I couldn't be equipped well. So if maybe there was those things, I would have done much better than.
Okay, congratulations, Shumelo. Shumelo is going to further his studies at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth. He already got himself a bursary from the SABC Foundation. And it's not only students in urban areas that are entitled to bursaries. If you do good, you are going to get a bursary. And now we're speaking to the SABC Foundation CEO, Iris Cupido, just to tell us, how do you find this boy in the deep rural areas of the Eastern Cape?
This boy made sure we find him. You need to work hard and make sure you get on that stage, the stage that says you're a top achiever, and that's where we spot you. And you're right, I think everybody has an opportunity to get there. Everybody. I mean, he's got 4 distinctions. We visited his home. I've seen where he comes from. I know the challenge. I know how he's walked to school, how he's walked home, how he's battled with unemployed parents, and yet he's achieved, So it's a story of amazing triumph, and everybody has the same opportunities.
I know life must go on for these children that are here, that are left behind here. What other donations that are you making to the school to ensure that those who are here, I know there's an issue of concern that there are no science labs, there are no computer labs, there are no libraries. What are you doing for those who are left behind here?
One of the things that Lumelo raised when we interviewed him was the fact that there was no access to information. He wishes that he had it and he would have done even better than 4 distinctions. So we've provided 10 desktop computers to the school. Vodacom have come on board to provide the connectivity and some laptops as well. So we're making sure that we move forward with the school and provide for the next generation that are coming to the school as well. It's important. I mean, access to information is so important.
Thank you so much for your time. That's Iris Cupido, the CEO of the SABC Foundation. They'll be sponsoring his studies, 300,000 rands to ensure that he furthers his studies. There's also a promise that if he does well in his degree for BCom accountancy, he might be funded also for his postgraduate studies. That's all we have time for now. It's back to you in Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, Zimkita. Looks like we might have a future CEO of the SABC in training right down there in the Eastern Cape. What a wonderful story. It shows you we can all overcome adversity. Attitude decides altitude in the end. Let's have a look at your views now. Your tweets at SABC Newsroom, of course, where it's at. Navan says, good luck to everyone making their way back to school today. Make it count, make it happen. Be the best that you can be. Yes, that's the secret. Be the best that you can be. Be all that you can be. The real Stephen Taylor says, If you're going back to school today, I wish you all the best. May this be your year to shine. Yes, Stephen, we hope that for all our children. South African father says the kids are going back to school today. This is it. The holidays are well and truly over. Yes, it's a little bit of a hangover for the next couple of days, but fortunately it's only 3 days before it's weekend. Salma says back to school for all coastal schools in South Africa. Woohoo! Good luck to every learner and yippee for every parent. Yes, a lot of parents are very nervous today. Anna says, the Anna Foundation says, let the 2015 school year begin, thinking of all our children today and especially the new grade R's. Yes, they are the nervous ones. They've never been to big school. It's quite nerve-wracking to have your first day at big school. So many grown-ups and so many children. Let's move on, though, and have a look at the front pages from around the world. The New York Times is looking at how Martin Luther King's birthday has been celebrated all across the United States this week. There you'll see pictures of a parade in St. Louis, to die in New York. Then the South China Morning Post is looking at how China's slowest gross domestic product expansion in 24 years was still enough to create more jobs than expected in 2014. Down under, the Australian is looking at the latest from the Australian Open as day 2 of the tournament. Day 3 of the tournament now gets underway at Melbourne Park today. Now, today's Twitter picture is from Spiwa in KwaZulu-Natal. Caption, some kids right now. Let's take a look at this picture, of course, at SABC Newsroom. Send us your pictures, your views right there. You know, if it's really good, we'll put it on our pick of the day. We'll put it on our tweet of the day. Where is that picture, Johan? Okay. Here we're waiting for that picture. Unfortunately, it looks as if the picture is not up. Okay. The picture was up. I can't see it, unfortunately. It must be my problem. But before we go to an ad break, let's just have a look at what is happening today. In Davos, in Switzerland, President Jacob Zuma will lead South Africa's delegation at the World Economic Forum there. Back home in the High Court in Pretoria, apartheid-era chemical warfare expert Dr. Wouter Basson is expected to apply for the removal of the head of the HPCSA's committee probing his conduct. Then in East London, the third one-day international between South Africa and the West Indies will get underway at 1:30 p.m. today. Of course, further north in Equatorial Guinea, the hosts, Equatorial Guinea, will face Burkina Faso at 6 p.m. this evening, while Gabon will take on the Congo at 9 p.m. in the African Nations Cup. Now, just before we go to a break, if you were traveling from Pretoria to Joburg this morning, you were most certainly late for work. Motorists were stuck in traffic on the N1 South before the Olifantsfontein off-ramp due to a truck that jackknifed, causing up to an hour delays. Many people who were stuck in traffic took to Twitter and posted the following pictures. We at Newsroom would just like to once again appeal to motorists, especially truck drivers, to keep it safe on our roads. Any misconduct can cost many, many lives and a lot of time out of our economy, as we've seen here in the economic hub of South Africa. Time for us to take a short break. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News.
People, we are getting there, and thanks to you, Pati is set to become our country's 12th official language. Here's today's word. Substitute. Replacing a drinking buddy with somebody more fun.
That has gone out of the ballpark.
That's more like it.
Help make Pati South Africa's 12th official language. Sign the petition today.
I've got a credit card.
Tens of thousands of people in the southern tip of Malawi have been cut off by deadly floods, leaving them without food, clean water or access to healthcare, while many others have been displaced. On Monday, Malawian President Peter Mutharika declared 15 of the country's 28 national districts disaster zones, calling on the international community for assistance. Currently, Gift of the Givers and Médecins Sans Frontières are in Malawi to help and to give us the latest while we talk to the Doctors Without Borders head of mission in Malawi, Omri Gregoire. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
You are on the ground in Malawi. Just tell us what you are seeing. How dire is the situation right now?
The situation right now is that the water has actually come down. The number of people that have gathered now in camps are continuously increasing. The authorities yesterday was counting around 65,000 people only in the last district of Nsanje gathered in 22 camps. And our concern remains for some of the people on the eastern side of the river that are still cut off any help, actually. The access to this area is still impossible except by helicopter, and we're forced to send teams actually to live there with the population to be able to provide care to this population that now since 10 days have had only access to very little food and yet only starting to have access to medical care that we can provide there.
We heard yesterday that the death toll is now more than 200 people that have perished in these floods. Can you paint us the picture as to how many people have lost their lives now and how many are still at risk?
The figures for the number of people that died is very difficult to say, and I'll leave it to the authorities. What is sure is that the people we interviewed and we are treating in the camps are reporting vision of hell, vision of number of corpses that within hours after the start of the flood has started to float around. What happened is that many people used to be facing this type of situation with the floods, but they gathered in what they knew were the safe lands, a bit higher lands, and within hours the floods actually made these what used to be safe lands into a trap that actually saw them isolated in these islands, and then the water took them away. None of these people can actually really swim, and I wouldn't be surprised that the death toll keeps climbing.
What's the outlook for the next week or so with regards to the weather? Are we going to see even more rain, and how do you expect these communities to then cope?
Well, the weather forecast have been announcing rains now for quite a few days, but fortunately it has been relatively quieter, which allowed people first to rest a little bit and to dry what remains, which is very little actually, and for the relief efforts to focus on digging latrines that are really important and on building the shelters and adding more tents. So hopefully, even if more rains come, because it remains the rainy season, most of these people should be under temporary shelters at least. Not ideal situation, but at least should be having a roof. But the problem remains access to clean water. Most of the well where the water is coming from have been contaminated. So the efforts to clean up these wells at community level are very important to focus on in the coming days.
Omri, I understand that you are also on the ground in Mozambique and Madagascar where floods are also causing havoc. Can you give us an idea of the scale of the crisis in these two countries?
Well, in Mozambique, the red alert has been set up. The authorities are equipped and more equipped into following up the level of the rivers, etc. So they have issued the red alert. There have been floods in some areas. The authorities are not calling for help for the time being. We on MSF side are remaining ready to intervene at any time that the authorities would require or authorize us to move. But as of now, it seems that the authorities are dealing with the situation.
Thank you very much for that update. That's Omri Gregoire who is with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. They are on the ground in both Malawi, Mozambique and Madagascar as the floods continue to cause havoc in all of those countries. As you've heard, the flooding in Malawi especially is bad. It's led to over 200,000 people now being displaced. The biggest threat, however, is the fact that almost 740,000 people in Malawi, Madagascar and Zimbabwe are likely to suffer crop losses because of the relentless rains. Our environmental, it says here guy, but it's actually a man, Paul Tsietse Munari, is here to unpack the rainy weather. And it is rainy season, we understand that, Paul, but the thing that I don't understand is we are in Johannesburg, where it's supposed to be raining heavily as well, but it hasn't rained really this last week, where it's raining all around us and wreaking havoc in these countries. Why are we seeing these heavy rains everywhere else except here by us?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the rainfall, especially with us here in Highveld. We've been getting some severe thunderstorms over the last, 8 weeks or so, and then just last week it stopped a bit. But now and then we've been getting rain, especially at night or in some really, really remote areas just outside of Johannesburg CBD and outside of Auckland Park. So it's not to say that we haven't really received a lot of rainfall. Yeah, the moisture is there, and the forecast also telling us that there are possibilities of rain. It's just not really not been coming that much. But yes, just around us, it's been relentlessly pouring. The rainfall has been coming over the last couple of weeks, and we kind of have been predicting it. We have been seeing it. It's so difficult to manage it. Like we're seeing up to 30 to 60% chance of rainfall for us, as well as some parts in KwaZulu-Natal. But we don't really know exactly 100% where the rainfall will be coming in. So yeah, that's the difficulty and where it comes from.
The thing that I don't quite understand about the scale of this kind of devastation is, couldn't these rains then be predicted? Isn't that your job, Paul?
Yeah.
And why don't we then prepare people to move to higher ground? Why don't we prepare for the loss of life and so forth?
Yeah, there's actually, it's a multiple of answers for this one. If you can quickly go into my weather slides, I'll just show you what we can see and what we have been seeing and, what you can notice. I hope you can have them in the background or somewhere quickly. Yeah, but anyway, what's happening is that we've noticed that there's been a low pressure cell just in between the Mozambican channel. Satellite image has been showing that, and even now, for the next couple of weeks, we can see those. But, how do you evacuate millions of people? How do you prepare millions of people? If I were to tell you right now, an earthquake is going to hit in South Africa maybe in the next 2 hours, how do we get 1 million people ready for that? How do we get people, excuse the flooding?
There we have your weather slide up now, Paul.
So you can
run
see
us through it.
It looks like it's a mixture of gibberish, but all the light shaded areas there, those indicate possibilities of thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. And if you look at Madagascar, there it is all the way over there. Now, there's been lots and lots of rainfall being expected along those parts. And this is also a wind forecast. So if you see the orange shaded kind of one almost out of your shot there, that indicates that the low pressure cell that was actually just in between Mozambique and Madagascar. It has moved all the way to the southern part. So
is this what we call a tropical cyclone that's coming offshore onto land?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's what it was just about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. So now it has moved further away towards the Indian Ocean, so it's not really having much of an impact anymore. But there's still lots of rainfall expected towards places such as Madagascar. And that's what it looks like these are winds now as they move. And then this is the clouds and the isobars showing the pressures. And you can see there's a L with a red just around it there.
Yeah.
And that's the low pressure cell. That's usually what's associated with a tropical cyclone. And if you look at just outside of shot again, there's a much stronger one there. And those are what's leading to the rainy conditions and the rainfall that we have been experiencing for Mozambique, Madagascar, as well as over Zambia. I mean, it's even raining now in Zambia.
Yeah, so the presidential election's been heavily affected. People actually have to vote into today because they couldn't deliver stuff.
So that's the second part of the question. Now, we've got elections, we've got votes, we've got other issues to deal with. Now we also have to warn people about the rainy season and the rainy weather. So which one do we deal with first? Are we focusing on getting the president inaugurated or the elections getting out there, or are we focusing on rescuing people out there?
In the next life, I'm coming back as a weatherman. That's definitely what I've decided to do.
Very difficult job. I'm starting to turn grey already.
Difficult job. It is a difficult job. Yeah, Paul, I want to ask you about the threats, the legitimate threats now that follows. Of course, the one is crops. Crops are very much at risk, and that in itself puts people at risk. What are the risks then throughout, if we look at your graphs? Yes, lots more rain is expected throughout southern Africa. So how's it going to affect crops?
Severely. especially if you're going to be in Malawi, the place during rainy seasons, lots of rainfall comes in. It's a small country and it's very, very waterlogged. The water table is quite high along this part, and if it keeps raining for 3 or 4 days in a row, it is most likely that it's going to flood. And when it's flooding, you can't plant anything except maybe for rice, and they, that's not really the staple diet they're going for there. The fruits, everything, the soil gets damaged. Soil erosion also occurs in massive ways. You saw the visuals that we had now with the floodings, that lots of topsoil gets removed away. Yeah. Also, irrigation is quite, underdeveloped in countries like that, and we cannot hold the water that we need to sort of hold. And also possibilities of diseases, cholera, can be widespread in places such as Madagascar as well as into
Mosquitoes,
Malawi.
that kind of thing also?
Yeah, exactly, because it's still hot. Temperatures are still remaining high, it's getting humid, and, mosquitoes thrive in hot weather.
Well, Paul, thank you for putting us in the picture there. It's a real humanitarian crisis that's playing itself out throughout Southern Africa at the moment. Let's hope that our South African Defence Force can make a contribution in saving lives throughout all these countries. Let's just take a look at our tweets. What are our tweets of the day? Mwana Mkongo says, I must say, it's on in Zambia where people are having elections and it's peaceful. God save Africa, Letelema. Mapamba Katongo says, Zambia is home to the most fascinating people that stand for nothing. Just ask the frontrunners in the presidential by-election, says Mapamba. Yes. Masuko on my mind says, Edgar Lunga will be president now. Let's see what happens to Rupiah Panda's court case. My eyes are glued. Hashtag Zambia. Yes, of course, voting in the Zambian presidential by-election continues this morning at polling stations where election material could not be delivered due to the inclement weather yesterday. The country is voting for a replacement for late President Michael Sata, who died of an undisclosed illness in October of last year. Patriotic Front candidate Edgar Lungu and the UPND's Hakainde Hichilema are the front-runners in the 11-candidate field. The Electoral Commission remains confident that counting will continue today as planned and that the outcome will be announced tomorrow. The new president is due to be inaugurated on Friday the 23rd, that is this week. Let's take a quick look at what's happening on our Facebook page today. You'll see there the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, says there is a need for South African and Mozambican officials to sit down and work out contingency plans for the yearly Mozambican floods. Then the South African Democratic Teachers Union has expressed its satisfaction with the state of readiness of the schools in the Southern Cape and the Karoo region for this academic year. And you'll see there's tight security in and around the Davos Conference Centre in Switzerland, where the World Economic Forum is due to resume today. You can find all of those stories and a whole lot more on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can also visit sabc.co.za/news for all the latest breaking updates. Let's just take a look now at, our viewer pick of the day. That was the one earlier. This pick was sent in, of course. It's back to school, and their mother is having a little bit of trouble trying to get the young man to go to school. Shame. Look at his poor face. The young man is in agony. And there we have our viewer's tweet of the day, Brenda Schumacher. When I become president of Zambia, we shall take robust and radical steps to take the economy and wealth back to the people, not the few elite, says Brenda Schumacher. Of course, that is in lieu of the elections taking place in that country. We're going to take a little break. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News.
Welcome to your world on SABC News Channel 404. I'm Tabile Ngwato.
And I'm Lulu Gabu.
President Uhuru Kenyatta says he will attend the Status Conference for his Crimes Against Humanity case, but in his personal capacity and not as President of Kenya.
Judges insist he attends this status conference.
About 50 Kenyan MPs are expected to travel to The Hague to express solidarity with President Kenyatta.
The Kenya cases have really tested the International Criminal Court in ways that it hasn't yet been tested.
Your World, weekdays at 9 p.m.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Newsroom. Let's just take a look at the stories making headlines this morning. Schools in coastal provinces reopened today. Pupils in the Western Cape, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal are starting their academic year a week later than their England counterparts. Teachers Union SATU has expressed its satisfaction with the state of readiness of the schools for this academic year. Kuruman schools affected by protests last year over a tarred road are expecting overcrowding, as many people will be repeating their grades. South Africa will use the 2015 World Economic Forum that gets underway in Davos, Switzerland today to assure investors that the country remains the best destination to invest in on the African continent. President Jacob Zuma is among the 40 heads of state attending. The forum will tackle global socio-economic issues. South Africa is currently facing challenges such as a sluggish economic growth, an energy crisis and a high unemployment rate. And flooding in Malawi and Mozambique continues to challenge rescue and aid efforts, with teams saying their biggest challenge remains access to the hardest hit areas. This due to the bad weather that has left roads inaccessible and washed away bridges. In Mozambique, at least 70 people have died and thousands more displaced during the floods, while in Malawi, floods have killed more than 200 people and left about 200,000 others homeless. Remember, all those top stories and more are all available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can then also keep up to date and follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, back to you.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Katrina. At present, South Africa is producing on average 13,000 qualified artisans per year, which is less than half of the 30,000 that the country should be producing by the year 2030. Increasing these numbers has always been one of the main priorities of national government in order to sustain industries and also support economic growth here. Now, World Skills is one of the global organizations having a direct impact on our artisan arena. Every 2 years, World Skills hosts an international competition that aims at giving visibility and importance to artisans across a variety of fields. World Skills South Africa will be hosting its national competition at the Cape Town International Convention Centre from the 28th of January next week to the 1st of February. Now, to tell us more is Dr. Raymond Patel, Chairperson for World Skills South Africa. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining.
Good morning, sir.
Give us a brief background. Many don't know how big this event really is on a sort of global scale.
On a global scale, 72 countries, over 6,000 participants under one roof, competing in about 49 different trades. These trades range from hairdressing to garden making to flower arrangements, CNC machining, mobile robotics, industrial heating, and so forth.
The competition is set to start on the 28th. That's next week. The details of the event, just take us through us. What sort of format are we looking in Cape Town?
We're looking at 76 participants that have gone to preliminaries already. We probably had about 1,000 learners competing throughout the provinces, of which 76 has now won their places to compete in the finals. The finals here would be selected at the Cape Town competition over a 3-day event. There are different tasks for learners to perform, for instance, in auto body repair or in spray painting. These learners go through their paces over those 3 days, then judges the best learners. The final team is then announced. The finalist, the winner, participates in Brazil, representing South Africa against probably about 70 other countries participating there.
Artisanal skills in South Africa, we have a shortage. What are our challenges?
Our challenges is what I would simply say a societal mix. We sit in a community and a society, even, where if your child is born, you only see a doctor and a lawyer and a university graduate. You do not see somebody who can become productive and to improve the productivity of this country. So what the result is at home, like we do with our boy kids and our girl kids. Our boy children have to be leaders and make money, and our girl children have to stay at home. We do the same with artisanal trades. We don't want our kids to get their hands dirty. Resultant is that we look down on these trades. We then see these trades too as our artisans' work as something which is demeaning. Now, we've got to demystify that. And part of this competition is to demystify, to show that a mobile robotics person is the very person that builds that camera stand and makes it move around without somebody manually manipulating it. So you need those kind of people. It's high tech. It needs a high level of mathematics and science. Whereas we then take our kids and put them into universities. We're the one country in the world that have more children at universities, or more young people at universities, over 1.2 million. And we've got about 750,000 at our FET colleges. Yet we expect to halve unemployment and poverty. To reverse that, we have to get our kids into a productive mode.
Into artisanal schools. How do we change the mindsets of parents, though, who all want their children to be lawyers and the like, and eventually unemployed lawyers? I know many young unemployed lawyers here in South Africa, and still we've got the skills shortage. It's disingenuous.
Well, you know, there's one example we should follow in this world. Germany, Switzerland. Switzerland has got 70% of their learners in artisan trades already. So when you qualify, when you matriculate, 70% of them go into technical vocational education and training. What has it done to the Swiss economy? We saw when the economic crisis hit the world in 2008, there were two countries, Switzerland and Germany, that survived it. Why? Because they're a productive country. Why? They've structured their curriculum, their schooling as such that learners get into technical vocational education right from the beginning. That's what we would do.
How do parents and young people, how do they get involved? Firstly, in your program or your competition, but also how do you fire them up to want to be involved?
You know, I've used the word outside, and I call it sexify the trades. We should start sexifying trade work, right? That's the
sexifying.
Yes.
Let
me put it this way: I don't know what car you drive, but if you're driving a German car, it's very seldom that the mechanic that works on that car or the auto technician that works on that car is dirty.
I speak German, that's why I'll never drive a German car.
Right. Ich spreche Deutsch. So when you get into the Mercedes-Benz or BMW, the guy stands in a suit and services your car. So gone are the days from getting a tradesman as a grease monkey. They are auto technicians. And that's what we have to realize as parents. These learners need high computer skills. And thanks to Gauteng Education Department, it's moving towards that direction. So that's the one way of doing it. Secondly, I use this example quite a lot. If you've got a plumbing problem at home, call out a plumber. Start calculating what he charges you. You go to the doctor and calculate what you pay for the doctor's visit.
Yeah, my plumber even is more expensive than my doctor at the moment. That's what I'm trying to convince
economically, it's a route that we can break down the poverty cycles in our country. Secondly, if we want to increase our GDP, if we want to increase life expectancy in this country, it's a way that we've got to become more productive.
Well, Dr. Raymond Patel, that's a mouthful, but it's something that I think we need to drum into South Africa, is that, you know, artisanal skills is where it's at in the 21st century. Yes. We need to build stuff. We need to manufacture. We need to make a contribution to our economy and not just sit around and talk shop. Thank you, Raymond Patel. World Skills South Africa. Of course, they've got a competition in Cape Town next week. Let's have a look at your tweets. This is in solidarity with the students affected by the WITS. That's, of course, funding. The poor are always going to be suppressed for being poor, says Tulani Menyana. Simply Sipiwe says, I sincerely hope this WITS NSFAS issue gets sorted out today. This is violating the right to education. Pay up, she says. Tons Valshwingwa says, no student should be deprived of the right to learn. Yes, that's the discussion we should have, but we should go to our other colleges other than just universities, I say, and that's what Dr. Raymond Patel told us just now. Now, finally today, 283, The Bad Sex Bet, authored by Mofonyo Malepe, is a tale of how a man openly speaks about his sex escapades and a bet he took during his years as a young man. It was meant to serve as a stern warning to his son not to repeat the same mistakes he did while he was young. Now, Mofonyo, I worked with this man, a former scriptwriter, TV anchor, and now author here at SABC Sport. We worked together. We used to call him Victor back in the day. Vic, 283 women you slept with?
Stupid juvenile mistakes.
Stupid juvenile mistakes. I like that. How did you keep that exact number?
Well, we were just young boys with no proper father mentorship at school, with no parental supervision, and we thought, we could just become men about campus and town, and we made a bet that we need to sleep with 250 women in 365 days, sadly. And
in 365 days?
Yes.
Did you do that?
Devilishly so, yes.
283?
And
it has to be different women.
Yes, and you don't repeat. And
how much was the bet worth?
250 was 6 players. Well, yeah, 6 players.
6 players.
6 players. 250 each.
Yeah.
And I happened to have won, unfortunately. 283, it's the number that I fell in love with. She's my son. She's my son's mother.
So was she the last one?
Yeah.
You lie. You lie, Vic, you lie.
Well, she wasn't the last one. She was the last one of the bet. She was the last one of the bet.
But here's the book. It's an interesting book. It raises a lot of questions, Vic. It raises, the first question is, and I have to be ethical now. We have to talk about apples with apples and where we are as a nation. Promiscuity, it kind of looks like it promotes promiscuity a little bit, but it isn't. It's a lot deeper than that.
It's a lot deeper than that. Actually, in this book, I'm saying promiscuity is costly. It's very, very costly. You can just imagine as my son.
Yes.
The 1,000s that I spent on dinner tables with a whole lot of women, just because I just wanted to go in bed with them. If I could have taken at least 10 rand from each 100 rand, today, right now as we speak, my son would be financially sound. He wouldn't even need anything in life. But his father was not really looking at that. I was looking at satisfying myself. And at the end of the day, in this book, I'm apologizing for all the things that he wanted from me and I couldn't provide because I was busy running around.
So how does this thing work with it sounds like it's easy, right? Do you call someone, or is it in the Facebook era? You tell someone on Facebook, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Then we talk, and then that same day it happens. Tell us, how does it work?
You see, actually in the book, what I'm saying is that forget the 283, the bet that happened at varsity, even before I started working here.
Yeah.
You understand? It started there. But
so
it
you
didn't
were stuck before you were on TV?
It didn't actually end there. It goes in too deep. You find yourself, there's this... The angels of Satan, 7 of them, of greed, of lust, of everything. The strongest one.
Gluttony is the one.
The strongest one is Asmodeus, the one who deals with sexual desires and everything else.
Yeah.
Once that man gets hold of you, there's no turning back. And fortunately for me, I managed to come back to my senses, and I wrote this book, and I'm hoping each and every father that has walked the same route that I've walked, and they could be able to say to their sons and say, listen, son, I don't want you to walk through what I went through.
Yeah.
And we're breaking this generational curse. What your father did, you're not going to do. There's a whole lot of things that our fathers did, and we said we don't want to do that.
Is it a problem in our society, this obsession with sex?
Yeah, it's a big problem. Believe you me, everything else. As we speak right now, chances are that there are people right now on social media, or probably could be on those applications on the phone. They want to hook up. It could be right now somebody else is booking a hotel. Yeah. You can just understand. We need not to sugarcoat these things and pay lip service to these things. We need to speak about them. It's a serious problem.
It's a serious problem. But you talk about the bad sex bet. Bad sex, is that the operative word in the title there, that it was so bad that it opened your eyes?
Exactly. I'm glad you get it. Even it was bad in all senses, because at the end of the day, that shouldn't have happened in the first place. We demystified the myth of a woman. A woman should be a mystery. You should want to know them, not use them. You understand? Once we did that, we broke all the rules, and sense of self-respect went away. We didn't respect ourselves enough, thinking we were the main men, and it wasn't like that actually.
Do you feel you have a lot in common with Tiger Woods?
Yeah, no, we love. I love golf. I love golf.
You love golf. Vic, it's a very brave book to write, but I think it's a very necessary book to be written in South Africa because we have a problem with promiscuity, especially amongst young men who don't understand this relationship thing, because we have a problem with father figures in our lives in South Africa, and this is a very necessary book. Victor, I think that it's brave of you to have done this because it could put your life in a total different perspective, being the public figure that you are at the end of the day. But fantastic work, very brave. I'm very impressed by what you're trying to do. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Evan.
It's something that's completely out of the ordinary and a little bit risque, I can tell you. 283, the bad sex bet. A young man made it and found himself enslaved for the next 10 years at least in this dark hole where he says he felt he was walking with Satan at times. Have you found the Lord now?
Every day is a step closer to God.
Thank you very much, Victor. Victor Mofenye Malepe told us his story. If you have a similar idea, go get the book, go read it, and maybe it's a conversation that we should all have with our sons about how we deal with love, how we deal with relationships, how we become better fathers, and how do we become present. That's where it ends for today. Newsroom is broadcast live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. The show then repeats at, 2 in the afternoon first and 5 a.m. a full repeat the next morning. We also stream live on YouTube at that time with the whole show available on demand on our YouTube channel. This is SABC News. You are watching Newsroom. We love it in the morning.